Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. Tim Bratz here. Today I'm sitting down with my buddy Jason Seward. Jason is an absolute stud who's been in Legacy Family, our mastermind, for the past about 18 months or so. And the amount of growth that he's had over the past 18 months is gargantuan, right? He actually came in with a corporate job, was very successful, making a bunch of money in the corporate world, realizing that he wanted to spend time building his fortune instead of just on the day job. And what did that transition look like? And how did he really conceptualize, monetize, quantify leaving that day job, and a lot of the successes and the differentiating points while he's been on that journey. So I'm excited to learn a couple key takeaways from him and hear a little bit more about his story and, most importantly, where they're going. So let's go meet up with Jason. Jason Seward.
What's up, Tim Bratz?
How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you, man.
Dude, good to see you. I'm glad to have you guys in Charleston.
Yeah,
It was fun to have.
I'm fired up to be here, man.
We've had some good times. You guys have been doing a bunch of filming. We got some workouts in. We got some dinners in.
Yeah, we crammed a lot in a few days. It's my first time. Well, I've been to Charleston once before, but my son was 6 weeks old, and we stopped in, passing through, didn't experience it at all. And then this trip, we packed. Next time I do it, I want to come back with our wives, spend a few days just experiencing Charleston.
I mean, that's the key. We all got to go out. Take the wives out. We'll get some babysitters for the kids or something, and go have some fun. We can do a beach day. Have you guys come here to the pool, and then do some stuff downtown because there's some unbelievable restaurants. We can bar hop a little bit, and, get a boat or whatever we want to do. So that's good stuff. So tell me a little bit about what I want to do. Is I want to dive into your backstory.
Okay.
I want to hear a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur, real estate professional, and now starting your own debt fund. Yeah. And then the podcast, all the other stuff, and big lessons learned along the way, right? Like, what are things that you wish you would have known earlier on in the process, so that way we can give some insights to somebody who's maybe not taken that next step yet.
Yeah, so. and it's a lot. I could go on forever. I kind of like yourself. I tend to ramble, so there's no telling where I'll go with this. But as far as the entrepreneurial journey, I graduated college in 2004. I went to work initially I worked at a local restaurant, but then ended up at Dominion Power. The plan was you get out of college, I had a business degree, I was going to work, and Dominion Power is a good company, but I was going to work up the ladder there. Business management.
Business?
Yeah. And so I get on there, worked there about a year and a half, and I hated the structure of be there at 7 o'clock, get off at 4 o'clock. And then they would have these maintenance outages twice a year where you'd work 6 days a week, 12-hour days. And I didn't mind the work. I've never minded work, but I hate it. I felt like every time I clocked in, I was in prison, So I knew pretty quickly, like, this ain't cutting it, I mean, it was a good job, good career, good company. They treated me well. But I wasn't necessarily seeking out anything different. I was like, I just knew, at a pretty quick age. I got approached by, there's a local in Virginia, there's insurance company, Farm Bureau Insurance. They're nationwide, but each state is its own entity within Farm Bureau. But I got approached by the agent in my town that was retiring. He had known me my whole life, knew my family. He was retiring, and the company asked him to give them a couple options local that would be a good fit to take over. So he reached out to me. I was intrigued. Long story short, I applied for the job. At the time, I was going from pushing 6 figures at Dominion and basically chopped my income in half to take this insurance sales job. But I knew I had to get out of that. And I also knew that I was naturally pretty good at sales. I could grow the income pretty good there. So go to work for Farm Bureau Insurance and sales. And what it gave me, I had known since being a kid, I wasn't going to be a good employee. I just needed to work for myself. But what Farm Bureau gave me was kind of scratched that itch because I had a flexible schedule. I was in sales. I didn't have a set schedule I had to be on. And the harder I worked, the more I sold, the more money I made. And I can go up and down just depending on how much I want to put into it. So it scratched that itch. Then I started advancing over the years in the company, more into a management role, built my team out. And then it kind of started, I started realizing the higher you go in a company like that, the more you realize, like, well, this is a corporation. It's very bureaucratic. I don't have the autonomy I thought. But it was an easy job, and I made a lot of money, you know. So in a small town where I was, you know, that money went a long way. So, and I've always been frugal, so I was able to save, you know, pretty aggressively over the years. But as I, you know, like I said, further along in the business, I knew that it's just, I've got to, don't know what it's going to be yet, but I got to find a way out and do my own thing. So back up a little bit. I've started in real estate not with the intent to build a real estate business. My goal right out of college was I wanted to build a family in my hometown. I wanted to buy a farm, and I wanted to build a dream house on it. That was it. And the way I decided to do it was through real estate. So the goal for me getting into real estate was not to make all this money. It was to get what I wanted as quick as I could in my hometown.
I think that's important, man. I think a lot of people just get in just to get in, and they just start growing, and they don't know why. But like to have that purpose and to have the why behind it, and know that this is, you know, and then you have like a definitive amount of money or definitive amount of wealth that you need to build in order to then qualify for this goal. I think it just that's I think how it should be done.
Right. Yep. So I knew that, and as soon as I got out of college, I started renting a single wide trailer on a 1/4 acre of land. Trailer was built it was probably like a 1970 model that was still a 1970 model. It had been lived in. So I moved into that. My grandmother was in real estate. She was a big real estate agent in our area. I wasn't there too much. She said, "You got to stop renting it. Go to the owner, figure out a way to buy it." Yes, ma'am. So she helped me kind of figure out how to do that.
That's great.
Approached the owner. We agreed to terms. I was able to buy it, and you know, I had to get a little loan on it and stuff like that. But my loan payment was less than my rent. Home run. So then I said, okay, next step, I got to get the trailer out of there. I'm gonna build a house. Didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I learned, you know, through my grandmother and other mentors. But you know, I got to go get a construction loan. Got to do all that. So we built a house. And then I met my wife during all of this. So we move in, and we weren't married yet, but we moved into this new house. We were there, I don't know, a couple months, engaged, planning this wedding, gonna start our family in this brand new, nice little Cape Cod house. And one of my clients passed away. It was an older lady in my hometown. Her children were out of town, didn't know what to do with the house, didn't want anything to do with it. It was a big farm, big old farmhouse. They asked me if I knew anybody that might be interested in buying the house. They want to keep the farm, but want to subdivide the house out of it. Old house, needed a lot of work, almost inhabitable. Go home to my wife. I said, I think we can make something here, but we're gonna have to sell this house. So convinced her, because I'm a good salesman, but I sold her on the idea, let's sell this brand new house and let's buy this old farmhouse. We'll fix it up. We can make a lot of money on it. So we sell the house. I rented the old farmhouse from them for a little while until I sold the house, and you know, we made it all work. But rolled that money into this new purchase.
And you're living in this house that was almost uninhabitable.
We didn't have kids yet, so we got married not long after we moved into this new farmhouse.
Right.
No kitchen. We were, I mean, it was terrible, but we figured it out. We started doing a lot of the work ourselves, but we hired a contractor to help us do the major things. So we fixed this house up, and I'll kind of condense the story a little bit, but ultimately we ended up buying a foreclosure house in our neighborhood too, kind of the same deal. I got a bead on it before everybody else did. We figured out how to buy that. And at this point I said, okay, we gotta find the land, because I'm trying to build toward land. And I was saving pretty good, so I had some cash. So I went and online using like the county GIS map system, and I know I've been in that town my whole life, so I know all the property, I know most of the landowners. But I selected about 50 pieces of property, farms, you know, ranging from 20 to 100 acres, that I want to target, and I hand wrote letters and mailed all the letters out. Pretty quickly connected with one of them and was able to buy a 20 acre, probably my favorite farm on the list. 20 acres, and I was able to buy it at about 50% of the value.
So you're essentially house hacking over and over and over again is what you ended up doing, right?
Exactly.
You moved into the trailer, fixed it all up, sold that for a profit, right? You moved into the Cape Cod house, fixed it up, sold that for a profit. Moved into this client's house, fixed it up, sold that for a profit in order to finally end up in your house.
So, and long story short,
it's called monopoly.
Yeah, we I sat on the land for a little bit because I had to sell these houses, and ultimately, 2015, built my dream house on our 20 acres. It's just all I've ever wanted, and we'll never leave there. But I was able to get into that. At the time, it was about a $700,000 value property, and I had less than a $300,000 mortgage. So it was because of all the gains I'd made everywhere else. So, and so we're set. And at that point, I'm rolling in my job, I'm moving up, I'm making a good income. I was done with real estate. Like, all right, I got my goal, So I kind of took some time off, or not kind of, I did take some time off in real estate for about 3 years. And I was just grinding in my job. Like, I mean, really building it up, growing teams. The company would move me around to different areas to help, either rebuild or build a new team. So I was going through that. And then in 2000, I want to say 18, Bill Phillips, who's now my business partner, he sends me a link to a podcast about credit card hacking. I'd never used, I was anti-credit cards. But it was just how to accumulate points and then use those for travel. I love to travel, great. I knew about podcasts, but it was the first podcast in 2018, so I'm slow, but it was the first one I ever listened to, and it sent me down a rabbit hole. That rabbit hole eventually led to real estate, watching a bunch of podcasts, reading a bunch of books, learned about the burst strategy, let's go. So I said, all right, now I'm gonna build a business around this. This business, in my mind, was going to retire me before I was 50 years old. So start down that path. First year, 2019, I did 3 burr, purchases. And Bill at the same time was also doing this. And we were having regular meetings because we were working so hard during the day, and or so much time spent on that. We were meeting at like 5:30 a.m. To kind of compare notes. And it didn't take long for both of us to realize, like, we have we complement each other. I'm kind of the sales networking guy. He's the numbers guy. I'm not very organized. He's very organized. Bill, let's try this as a partnership. And that kind of poured gas on it. So we went on to buy several rentals. We flipped a bunch of houses. And then we did that 3 years and bought our first apartment last year. We buy the apartment, and at that point we realized, okay, we just bought an apartment not knowing how the hell to buy an apartment. It's a 16 unit. We need to educate ourselves around this. So I start researching masterminds, and I talked to a bunch of leaders of masterminds, and watched all their stuff, landed on you, no brainer. I called Bill, I said, this is our people, let's go. So joined the mastermind August of 22, last year. We both had set up our mind that we've got to leave our jobs. This is what we want to build the life we want for our families. Go to Nashville, and Bill tells us
which is the October of 22 summit.
Correct. And heading down there, I had done enough research on you to know that, Bill, we're going to go down there, and he's going to try to convince us to leave our jobs. we're not going to be those people. We're going to
I don't know if I've ever gone to an event and not gotten somebody to leave their job.
Yeah. So we go down there, and he's like, yeah, I'm good with that. I was like, we just got to think through this. We're going to be inspired. We know we are. But let's think through it. Let's marinate on it. We get there, and I remember you do the round tables at these legacy events. I remember sitting in my first round table, and I had Scott Hannes, a couple other people at the table. They're still in legacy family. And I laid out, like, my biggest challenge was I want to get out of my corporate career, and I've just got to bridge it. I got to figure out how to do it. And I can't remember if it was Scott or somebody else at the table, but asked me if I were to cut off that corporate income right now, and have no income coming in, how long could I make it? Well, I had been frugal and built up a pretty good net worth, and without compromising my standard of living, I could comfortably make it about 4 to 5 years, you know. And the whole table looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you not leaving? And I remember Scott saying, and this is, it was so profound, but he said, Jason, you leave your job, you do it on good terms, you have an incredible resume, commit to 2 years of trying to build something, and after 2 years, if it's not working out, you have a great resume. Go get another job, making the income, and get back into the grind. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And no sooner did we get to the airport, I look at Bill and I said, I'm done. I'm leaving. And he was like, wait a minute. You said we're not doing this. I said, I'm out. You do what you want. I'm out. Of course, I had to, check a few boxes, check with my wife. But it was less than a week later, I reached out to my big boss and I said, I need to meet with you. What was funny about that, we had a big new agent summit. So it was a bunch of new agents here, and he had scheduled me to speak, do a presentation to the new agents to pump them up about their career. So I do it. I go through, I'm getting them fired up, doing my thing. They're all thanking me. It was incredible. And we were scheduled to meet right after this conference. And so everybody leaves, we sit down, and he's fired up. Dude, you did awesome. I got news to tell you, man. And I laid it on him. And it was hard for me because they were my family. It was a great company. They gave me all this opportunity. I am loyal to a flaw sometimes, so I felt like I was leaving my family. I still keep in contact with most of those people, but that was the hardest part for me. But fast forward a few months later, I'm out, end of the year, and it's been full speed ahead since then. So,
it's awesome, man. No, it's super inspiring to watch the story and watch how you guys have grown. And I had Bill on here, and he was talking about how you guys have scaled the portfolio from 20 doors up to 46, I think now.
Yeah, in that area, yeah.
And then you got the fund, right? You guys have already raised, what, a couple $1 million in the fund in the first 6 months, 6 months that you guys have been running it. And looking to grow that to what?
The goal is by the end of next year, 24, the goal is 15 million. Our 1 year anniversary of the fund is in July. We want to be at 10 by then. And we've kind of reverse engineered that into a ton of KPIs and all the things that we're going to do to build to that, but that's the goal.
That's great, man. And so what are you guys doing in order to go out and raise money? Like, what are some of the, give me a couple of hacks that you guys, that are working right now in this economy, in this market, with interest rates where they are, and money market accounts paying 4.5%, 5%, and CDs paying 5%, and like, how are you going out and raising money right now?
Yeah, so we offer, to investors, it's a strong, very competitive. We have a strong liquidity option, and we're giving good returns. So, but the challenge, and that's my primary area in the fund. We all, Tim Blodgett, that's his focus. Bill's over operations, and I'm primarily capital raiser, networking, relationships. So my challenge was, yes, I'm decent at sales, but it's a different sales type than what I was used to. Selling insurance, it was, are you interested? Let's close it right here at the table. We're done. I'm selling, it's a commodity I'm selling essentially. This doesn't work that way. So initially, I'm pitching and I'm ready to close it. Give me your money now. And I quickly realized, no, that this is a long term. They got to get to know me. They got to trust me. So my approach, asking for a hack, it's not going to happen quick. I've realized, and we've gotten some quick money in just through our natural market. But it's really just realizing that, number one, accepting that I'm not going to close anybody the first time I meet them.
It's a process, right?
Yeah.
They have to develop a relationship with you. They have to see you. Like they respect you for what you've done. But at the same time, it's a new business, right? And they want to make sure that you have staying power. And so people that you talk to today or in the past 6 months are probably just going to watch for a year, 2 years, and then all of a sudden they bring $1 million in year 3. It's the staying power, right? Making sure that you're still doing it and making a commitment to that thing. And I talk about the 3-year principle all the time, and it transcends everything that you do, right? Like it's you plant, you cultivate, and then you harvest, right? It's a year of each of those things, and you see it in relationships, right? You date for a year, you get engaged for a year, and then you get married, right? Like
Yep.
it's a process. And if people don't make the commitment of, hey, this business is at least a 3-year business in order to get it off the ground,
Yeah.
right? Not to exit in 3 years. Dude, we got to get off the ground. It takes 3 years. I'm building a software right now, and guess what? The first year was trying to figure everything out. The second year was refinement of the software. Year 3, we take it to market.
Yeah.
And then it's not until year 5 or 7 or even 10 that we really have the exit, you know? And so, but when you have that type of a mindset, you make better decisions
Yep.
for the business and for yourselves and for your investors because you have a longer term mindset. I think that's a big principle that I found in the most successful people is they make decisions not based on today or this month or even this year. It's 5 years down the road, it's 10 years down the road, it's 50 years down the road
Right.
of like, what is the best decision I can make today that'll set me up for better things in the future?
Yeah, and I'm, I'm kind of having to reshape some things about my mentality because I am a instant gratification. I want it now, and that's just the way I'm wired. But fortunately, like if I was going at this alone, I'd probably feel like I'm failing right now, because I'm not closing the sales. But I've got the good support of, Kelly Garrett. She has been a huge part of our startup, and having her really bring me back, into like you're doing great, you're doing the right things. You tweak this, tweak that, and it's just teaching me to be more patient and understand that this. And I know those things, but and you could probably relate to this. Like you just want things now, you know. So, but no, we've done very well. We've gotten some good investments into the fund, and a lot of people, like you mentioned, we've had investors come in, really high net worth folks, test us. They'll give us 25 grand, 50
here's
grand.
50 grand.
Yeah, and they just want to see us perform, kind of understand how things flow, and 6 months from now, that could be $1 million, so, yep.
And it absolutely will, right? It's just, you got to plant the seeds. You got to cultivate the seeds. You got to develop those relationships. And then over time, all that stuff compounds. And you're going to see this unbelievable, some of those seeds you plant and grow in the first year. Some of them you plant, but they don't grow until year 3 or year 5 or year 10. All of a sudden, somebody has an exit. They sell their software business for $100 million, and they got $20 million bucks, and they call you.
Right.
What if you quit in year 4.5?
Right.
They exit in 5. Hey, tell me about your fund. Oh man, we shut it down 6 months ago.
Yeah.
What? This could be a total game changer, right? And the finance industry, I always say, commands all the other industries, right? So like, it works in finance. Real estate works. Those things are not, unknowns or startups or have some sort of mysticism of whether or not it could be successful or not. Like it works, right? Like it's a very predictable business. It's why it gets the highest multiples of anything out there. And so like, you just got to stay with it, man. You just got to keep on knocking on doors, having the conversations, raising the capital. Dude, you're going to find yourself with a $100 million fund probably in year 5, right? Just because, you're doing the work. So it's super exciting, man. So tell me, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like? Are you focused more on the business? Are you focused more on the real estate? Are you doing a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I mean, we are real estate investors. I want to acquire property or, a mix of our own portfolio, but also and being introduced to Legacy Family has given me the opportunity to invest as a limited partner in several deals. And so kind of getting a taste of that because, the debt fund, if it does as we project it to do, there's going to be a lot of capital coming in. And, that capital can safely be put in with operators like you guys and that can give us those passive returns. And then we'll keep in our own little market, our portfolio, we'll keep growing that as opportunities come up. And also the fund, we just bought another 16 units a couple months ago. We were able to leverage the fund to kind of feed that, and we can get creative there. So, but the next 3 to 5 years, I would say, the fund is our main focus. We're going to keep. You've said this a lot recently, kind of where you guys are going, but we want to build our portfolio buying the right stuff. We don't want our egos to get in the way to be able to come into a room and say, oh, we own 5,000 doors. yeah, if we own 5,000, but they're quality doors and they're, things that I want my kids to own one day, great. But if we only get to 200 doors and the fund's rolling and I've got a couple million in other people's deals, that's great. I am motivated, and I think us three as a partnership, Bill and Tim Blodgett and I, the number one motivator is we are doing all this because we want time back. We want time with our wives and kids and our families and our friends and to travel. And this is a vehicle, a tool to get us that. So the goal in 3 to 5 years is, I want to have things streamlined in my business so I can focus on it when I need to, but I've got the time to just get away and focus on my family. Because my kids are 12 and 7. I only got a few more years with them. And when they're gone, shit, I might crank this thing up and go hard. But
exactly.
Between now and then, they need me. And they don't give a shit how big my portfolio is. They're not going to be proud of that. They're going to be proud to say, my dad was there every freaking day. And like, I'm an emotional dude. I was raised by a single mom, so I'll get choked up talking about this, but it's really important to me to show them a good example through hard work, but the best example I can show them is how to be good parents, good family people. Yep.
You got your priorities straight, brother.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you so
You're a
much.
big inspiration on not just the business side, but definitely the family side, and the relationship side, and the everything else, like the health side. And it's cool to see everybody elevate, right? Like, we've known each other for a year and a half, right? Already been part of the group and really started getting to know each other really well for the past year and a half. But it's like, look, all of us are healthier than we were a year and a half ago. All of us have more wealth built than a year and a half ago, right? All of us have been working on our relationships and all these other things and working on their time management and buying that time back. And to see what's happened in a year and a half, again, going back to looking where you come from to where you are today to where we're going to be going, that's what really gets me fired up, man. I can't imagine what this all looks like for all of us and what the continued opportunities look like, and the experiences and the travel that we can all do together as the rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
And all the things that we're gonna do together. So it's fun.
And I got to thank you, man. I mean, you have been. We talk about it all the time in our group, but the group that you've just created a monster, of a group, and we've been able to tap into that. And hell, if I'm going to be a part of something, this is whether it's a team I'm on or whatever it is, I'm going to lean all in, and I'm going to get the most I can and contribute as much as I can. What you've created has allowed us, through all the relationships we've made, obviously with you, but your team and everybody else in the group, it has poured a 10-gallon bucket of gas on what we already had going. So I appreciate you for that, man, because it's powerful.
It means a lot. It means, and that's why we do it, right? It's to make the impact, to pay it forward, because I know that leaders like you guys are going to continue to make an impact and a ripple effect across the world, and eventually, hopefully, make the world a better place. They need more good leaders in this world. So appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I hope you got a ton of takeaways from that. I'd love to see your takeaways actually in the comments section. Give me a like, subscribe to our channel, share this with somebody who's going to get a lot of value out of it. It always helps us out. It's why we do what we do, to try to give as much value to you as humanly possible. And if you could do those things, it would mean a lot to us. So appreciate you. I'll see you next week on Spilling the Beans. Until then, be your best.